Hey, again, this is Dave at Marketing Ideas for Printers, and thank you for joining today's webinar about Odyssey. And we're just going to go ahead and dive right in right now. And there are so many different things we could talk about with Odyssey. And at this particular moment, talking mostly about the order forms. We'll keep the conversation open too for whatever direction we need to go, because there's a lot of ways we can connect some of the dots within Odyssey, and a lot of it just keeps getting more connected. Kind of in the talk before the webinar started, I gave a little teaser that I'm going to show a little one of those newest dots that got connected here, and I'll bring that up when we're at the right time. But first of all, what I want to do is talk about how an order gets into Odyssey. And really, there's three different ways, and we're going to go through all three of those today. On one end of the spectrum, we have the super easy way of for your customers to place an order online. And actually, what I am going to do is open up my main screen, and let me just go into do not disturb mode here so I don't get too many interruptions. So I've got my main screen showing now, and what I'm going to do is pull up an order form, just an order form just like any of your print buyers might happen to see it. And I've got a few of them set up under my flyers category. I'm going to use this flyers demo here and just go ahead and start placing that order from the perspective of your print buyer. Pretty normal stuff here, just a typical order form. But the part that I want to kind of start establishing some of these connections, want you to take a look at the folding options here. We could really take a look at any of them. Folding options is just kind of my go-to one. The answers that your print buying customers can provide. Well, let's hop over on the Odyssey side. And this is Odyssey. This is the main interface for Odyssey. Nice, clean look here. And just to kind of set the stage for that, we can go ahead and just make that interface be whatever it needs to be for you on the way that you're working. But for now, I am going to go into the resources section. And we're going to take a look at the resources in Odyssey. And I'm going to tie that to the order form, or maybe more correctly, show you how that ties to the order form. So in Odyssey, the resources are the materials and the machines and the people that all make print happen. And so when we're looking at the folding option on the website, if we just kind of drill down and see what a folding resource looks like, we're just going to pull that up. We're going to stay kind of high level, but certainly at any point, we can drill deeper into the details. Let's see, where am I going to go here? So in the resource, what we're looking at here is just the basic setup here of the machine. I'm going to pause just for a second. I just see a message that's coming in from one of the attendees asking to make you the presenter. And if you got questions, we'll come back to those. But this is me doing the presenting today. So on the show and tell side, I'm going to keep the role of presenter. And Kirk, if there's details that we need to dig into later, we'll be happy to do so. For the moment, though, just kind of hang on, and I'll keep going on the tour here. Okay, back to the resources with the folding section, or folding resource, looking at a folder, and what we're doing is we're setting up the very basic parameters for that folder. Things like, what is the budgeted hourly rate? What is the sheet size? What is the maximum sheet size that that folder can accommodate? How long does it take to set up that first fold? How about an additional fold? What we're doing here is we're setting up all of the different characteristics of that folder. That's the first part of the resource. Now, if we go over to the next part of it, you can see all of these different things. That's what the folder is. Now let's take a look at what the folder does. And these are all of the tasks within that folding resource. And you can see them showing up over here. Half fold, message on the print buyer, and all of these different tasks. So what that means is when your customer places that order, Instead of just saying, I want a half fold, well, they're actually saying, here's the task that you need to perform. And that actually becomes an actionable item within the job ticket. Okay, so there's the whole setup. This is going to make sense pretty quickly here as I go ahead and place that order as if I am a print buyer. And here's how it works. So just on the order form, normal type of order form stuff. And we're just going to go ahead and, oh, let's see, what is the date today? Of course I know what the date is today. It's my daughter's birthday. So I'm just using that as a way of naming this job. I always tell people that I can always remember her birthday because she was born on 3/2/1. Of my three kids, she's the one I can remember the easiest. So there you go. There's my little rabbit trail story for you. Um, Back to the order form. We've got all the information to place an order. We're going to plug in a job name, and we're just going to add it to the cart as if I was a print buyer and check out now. Now, we're going to have a chance to see this later, too. I'm going to take just a little diversion. Take a look over here. This alert bell is a pretty important part of Odyssey, and this is something I'm going to show you for the very first time. That brings attention to anything that someone needs to see. So right now, there's 3 items that need attention. Just going to look at that. I'm going to close it down. That disappears. Watch what happens when the print buyer places an order. Yeah, big surprise. You know what's going to happen, right? I'm going to complete that order. Thank you for the order. And look what just happened. That alert bell, there's the number 1. Now you know that there's an order that came in. Print buyer placed an order, and almost instantaneously, you've got an order in there ready to go. And we can use that alert bell and go right to that order, so the right people on your team are going to get notified whenever there's a new order. That alert bell is used for other things too, but that's certainly one of the easiest things to show. And we look at that order on the right-hand side of the screen, it has immediately been turned into a job ticket. No more copying and pasting, saying, here's my half fold, and let me put that into the right place in the print MIS. It goes immediately into the job ticket so that you and your team can start working on it. This is the online job ticket. We can also look at the printable job ticket. So if you want to keep that part of that going, keep the paper flowing around your shop, you can sure do that too. For the purposes of what we're talking about today, I'm going to stay right on this online ticket here. A few things that can happen, and as soon as that job ticket is there, you can go ahead and assign that to the right people, assign the different tasks to the right people. Just randomly picking a few here, but that's another place where that alert bell comes into play. If you get a task assigned to you, guess what? You need to do it, and Odyssey will tell you to do it. We'll look at the schedule later as well, but for now I want to still stick on these order forms. And that's it. That's the first part of how an order gets into Odyssey. Now, I want to take a little bit of a break here because if you're looking at that and you're thinking, okay, that's great. So Odyssey is all about online orders. What about those personal face-to-face orders, or what we call the legacy orders? It's easy to think that Odyssey is just about online. It is about online, but it's about more than that too. So what I want to do is I want to show you what would happen. A very similar process, really. If someone came into your shop in the front counter working with someone on your team and wants to place an order for flyers, just like we just did. Well, here's how we would handle that with Odyssey. Now, keep in mind, the first time that I went through this, I was looking at the order form from the perspective of a print buyer. I was role-playing what a print buyer would do. Now, let's shift that a bit. Now I will be someone from the front counter. That print buyer comes in, we're having the conversation, and they say, I would like my flyers. I'm going to use this guided order flyers order form, and that's just the name that I gave it. And now, instead of your print buyer placing the order, me at the front counter, I'm going to help them place that order. This is an order form that only I will see, or only that someone on your team would see. Same type of a process though. So a little bit different here. If you remember that order form from the from the public one, this one's a little richer in the information that it's available. Now we can start using that wisdom that your staff has that your customers may not have, and we can just go ahead and start answering some of that information. And we're going to add that to the cart. And now, instead of completing the order, again, remember, I'm someone on the printing team here, ready to go ahead and place that order on behalf of the customer. So we're going to do some identity theft. Don't worry, it's the good kind of identity theft. This is the kind of identity theft you want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in right here. Sorry, I was hiding my webinar control panel there for a moment. So we've made this order. We got it to the point where we're ready to place it on behalf of the customer. Who is that customer? We just start typing. See how fast that popped up? Keep in mind, we're on a website here, folks. This is a web-based ordering system, but did you see how quickly it came back with that information? Our team has done a great job on making this something that can just pop right into place. Very, very responsive. Kind of hesitate when I say that because sometimes you think of responsive website meaning a mobile website, but here I'm talking about the speed at which you get information going back and forth. It's very responsive in a speed way as well. Anyway, I'm getting off that rabbit trail again. So now I've figured out who I'm placing this order for. I'm going to go to Reggie Print Shopper. We're assigning the order to Reggie. We're going to keep on shopping. Whoop, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to keep on shopping. We could. But let me check out now instead. Same spot on the shopping cart. We'll go ahead and complete that order. We could fill out the shipping options and all that. That's not the focus of what we're doing right now, though. And we place that order. Our bell rang here over here again to say there's a new order. Reggie Print Shopper placed an order. Big surprise, we saw it happen, but it's just like that in real time. And there it is with all of that information in the job ticket. Okay, so there we go. Now let's take a look at where this ends up on the scheduling. I have to hang out a little bit of a disclaimer here. I'm on Mac Safari, and there's still just a little bit of a display piece that hasn't quite popped in the way we want it to. Matter of fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up Chrome as well, just so you can see the way we're intending to do it. So you're getting a little behind the curtains peek at some development in progress here, but that's all right. The concepts are still there. You'll see the information. Here is our schedule. And I'm going to wait for the Chrome version to pop up as well. Looks like I'm waiting a little longer than I thought. This is my computer misbehaving and not... There we go. Here comes Chrome. And really, when it loads, you're not going to see anything terribly dramatic different. It's just a matter of these grid lines that are not showing up the way that we're aiming for yet. So we'll give you a quick peek at the target we're aiming for on that. Well, my installation of Chrome is being a little bit more interesting than I thought. We'll just let that keep going in the background. Well, there we go. We're getting there. And there we go. That's what I was wanting to show you. So here's what the schedule is going to look like in all browsers. Just a nice, easy, clean way of looking at the schedule. We can play around with the kind of the scale of the time. We want to see a lot of time in one screen or just a little bit of time. We can play around with that. The most important thing is that this is the schedule. Now, and if you think of that job tickets that we were looking at earlier, when a customer places an order, you get a collection of all of the tasks needed to complete that job, complete that printing order. So that's a view of the tasks through the lens of a job. Now we're looking at all of the tasks through the lens of the resource that is going to perform that task. And this is a sandbox website, so I'm not sure exactly how this is going to line up here. We have some, just kind of some practice data in here, but we'll see what happens. I'm just going to go ahead and drag a few of those tasks in, just so you can see what we've got. Keep in mind that this is from your view as a manager, someone that can look at the schedule and see everything that's going on. Your team can also have their view of the schedule as well, and then it potentially wouldn't have as much information. I'm going to add just one more in there. I'm sorry, I'm just doing one thing on my control panel here too. Give me just a quick moment. There we go. Okay, so back on the schedule. One thing we can do in the demo, which I wish we could do this in real life sometimes, but this red line represents the time of day. I wish I could control time this easily, but we've rigged this one up for demo purposes here. So we're just going to go ahead and move that down. And just because that's rigged up for demo purposes, there we go. It's taking a little bit here. I'm going to even go a little bit further, and you can see that there's a certain number of tasks that need to be done at any point. And what happens then is we start to get into this gray area here. So now all of a sudden there's a choice to make. You can either tell your customer, we just ran out of time today, we're going to put it on first thing tomorrow and reschedule the task. Or you can go ahead and tell the person responsible for performing that task, you know what, Joe, you just got to stick around a little extra tonight and finish that job. Either way, the choice is yours. You can go ahead and see what you're up against time-wise here. A nice visual representation of what's going on. We can also look at the task details. We could do this on the job ticket. We can also do it here as well. So we start to see some of the information about that. I'm just going to quickly complete this task, and you can see a little bit of what's going on there. We have the detailed information. We also have an event log. So this you probably wouldn't need to get into much. However, you can, and it's there. So you know everything that happened with that task. Did someone start it at this time, or when did it end? And just those type of things. And you can see that that's marked down now as a completed task. So that's a little peek at the schedule. All right, that is also probably a little bit of a rabbit trail, so I'm going to go ahead and hide that again for now, and I'm going to go back and look at Odyssey. Just going to go back to the big picture. And I think I'm asking a lot from my computer here to do a couple of browsers and a few other things in the webinar control panel. So we'll just let that pull back up here. There we go. And I'm going to actually bring in the focus to our Odyssey screen here. Now, the part that I wanted to show you here, remember when we started talking, we were talking about the different ways of getting orders into Odyssey. So far I've shown you what could happen for someone that is going to place their own order, kind of their self-serve. I'm sitting at home in my pajamas late at night, placing an order for printing using a publicly available order form. That's the first scenario we looked at. The second is someone that's coming into your shop, having into your shop for that face-to-face discussion. We're starting the order on their behalf and assigning that order to them. So those are on the kind of the more straightforward, here's how an order comes in. Odyssey can also handle the more complex orders, and oftentimes those are going to start out as an estimate. So that's, just starting out that blank piece of paper, and how do we turn that into printing? It might be that we're using an estimate here. So a lot of this information we can just pull right up from the database of information that's within Odyssey. We can assign the estimates to the right customer. We can go ahead and enter the job description, which in this particular screen is the only, at this point anyway, the only required piece of information. So we'll go ahead and put that in. And it's just a matter of walking through the prompts. Ship to, we'll skip that for now, but we can go ahead and pull that up from the address database. Again, I'm going to stay a little bit higher level on this. We'll go over to the markups. So here's a little hint that you've probably already suspected, that Odyssey, just by the way we're setting up those resources, is a cost-based system. So Odyssey's figuring out the cost, but we're also going to have that opportunity, of course, to add the markup and actually get some profit, so that this is a job and not just a hobby. Now, here's where the heavy lifting happens, is on the component wizard. So we're building this estimate. What does the component wizard do? Well, it's just going to walk you through, bring in all the pieces that you need to make this job or this estimate. Now, keep in mind, when we're talking components, you all know the drill. A component, a multi-component job, an example could be like a booklet. You'd have one component is the outside cover. A second component is all the interior pages. Odyssey will handle all of those components and bring that together into one job. For now, though, I'm just going to keep this a simple single component job, and we just keep drilling down into the paper. Just follow the prompts. Make a finished size of 8.5 by 11. We're going to go ahead and lock in the margins for the bleed. We'll just keep on filling in the blanks here. Full color, we'll go full color over black. And we'll just keep that flyer going. So here is where it all starts happening. This is the part where Odyssey now has enough information to say what is the best output device to make this happen. And this button says load presses, probably should make that say load output devices, because what's happening here is Odyssey is looking at all of the different ways you have of producing print, and it's going to rank that from the lowest cost to the highest. So at some point, it might make sense that a digital output device is at the top of the list on the lowest cost, and at some point, depending on the quantity, that offset press might rise to the top. Bottom line is, you can see that Odyssey's doing its math. It's figuring up the number up on a sheet of paper and taking into consideration the waste. All of that information is coming into play and allowing you to make that best selection possible. I'll just stick right at the top of the list. I could just as easily override that if I wanted, and I'll just do that here. I'll just pick a different configuration just because. And you can see I'm loading in the different quantities. And doing that just so we can have that potential to upsell. And there it is. So just like that, we have an estimate in the system. Now, what I'd said before, Odyssey has enough information to figure out that output device. You may not be done with that estimate. You may want to add some other things like home binding. We can do that in here, and we can keep building that estimate with all of the different tasks that you need to do to make this estimate accurate. I'm going to go back now to the estimate part, though, because we'll make the assumption that we've got all of those pieces in place. And now we can start looking at those details. There's our different quantities, 10,000, 15, 20,000. And just all that math starts happening. You can just see it all just dropping into place here. This is your view of the estimate. We don't want to throw all this information at your customers, of course. That's just overkill. But we can start building what that's going to look like to your customer. Just use it as is. We can also have the ability to play around with the messages that are going to be blended into what the customer sees. And so what does that estimate look like? It looks kind of like this once everything gets put into place. And we can go ahead and save that. We can go ahead and make a PDF out of that. So that PDF, we can go ahead and drop that onto your letterhead if you wish, so that it's just a nice, easy print it and mail it to your customer. But most often, either in place of or in addition to that, you're probably just going to send the email notification out to your customer. And we can just go ahead and send that out to them. I won't do that right now, but most of you, I think all of you perhaps, that I see listed on the webinar, you're already using a website from Marketing Ideas for Printers. Same type of a thing here. So the way that you're used to sending out your estimates, we'll do it the same way in Odyssey. send a link out to your customers, bring them back in to look at the estimate details. There they can respond to that estimate, and if they say, yep, that looks good, and they go ahead and approve that estimate, and just like that, just like we hit the place an order button on the website, just like that, that estimate turns into a job in your workflow, in your system there, and you can start assigning the tasks, or perhaps Odyssey will know which person and which resource to assign it to. It'll go ahead and do that for you, and whenever it has a question, it's going to ring that bell and say, who should be doing this task? You can give it the guidance to do that. And let's see. Well, there we go. There's one more of our notifications from that order there. So always have that. If that bell's ringing, that's a good thing. That means that you've got work going through Odyssey. There, I've been up on the soapbox for a while. That is the whirlwind tour of Odyssey and how it all comes together, at least in the perspective of getting orders into Odyssey. You know, there's a lot that we could touch on. That is not everything in Odyssey, of course, but this is certainly one of the important parts on how do you get work into Odyssey and get your team working on that. So I'll keep an eye on the chat here, and again, if anyone has a question, we can sure entertain those questions too. A couple of the other things that I'll talk about with Odyssey. Honestly, a lot of information that we could go into. The order forms, that's what we were looking at earlier, the publicly available order forms. So we've got the order form builder, which is how you start tying the resources that you've defined that are unique to your shop into what you and your team and your customers can use. Here's a biggie too. I'll talk a little bit about the marketing part of Odyssey. And the part of it that I kind of have to throw out this disclaimer to is that this is not going to make the initial release of Odyssey, but it is right at the top of the things that we're working on. And it's going to be coming around the corner. Really excited about what this is going to be able to do for you and your customers. So I'll spend just a little bit of time talking about that too. Before I do, let me go back here. Remember that Odyssey is going to be keeping track of all of your contacts, and that'll be an important part with the marketing part. There's good old Reggie Print Shopper, so we have his contact information in here. So this is the the CRM part of Odyssey, and if we go back to that marketing part, what happens is the combination of the contacts and the marketing, it really allows you to expand the scope of what MIS is all about. So if you think of MIS up until this point, it's always been about the time during production. Someone places an order, you do the work, and the order's done, and MIS has done its job. But now with Odyssey, because we're bringing in this marketing component, we can do so much more. We can really expand the scope of what MIS is all about. So now it's not just about that time during production, but we can also say it's also that time before and after. So before production, now we have the tools to help turn prospects into customers. And that's what this kind of represents here. So in this particular case, well, there's a lot of ways we could set it up, but in this particular case, we've set it up to represent what you might use if you wanted to encourage your customers or your prospects to use Fast Track. Fast Track is the virtual printer that's available for use with the websites. You don't have to use that with the marketing part, but that's what this is set up to be. And the way that it's working is Odyssey is going to be listening for different events. So an event are these blue items. An event is something that Odyssey notices, and once it notices it, it's going to go ahead and do all of these actions. That's the orange items. And you can build those any way that you want. We can build up whatever path that makes sense for you and your team. I'm just wanted to show you that that's how that works, to drag that in, but I'll walk you through what we've got set up here. Okay, so to drill into the details, a contact tag is changed. Odyssey notices that. Reggie Print Shopper, we may have said he might be a good person to use Fast Track, and we're going to tag his record as Fast Track Prospect. Odyssey will recognize that and said, oh, someone has been tagged Fast Track Prospect, and now I'm going to do these actions. One of the very first things we'd want you to do or suggest that you do is let's add Reggie to another list so that in case everything that's on the screen here just falls apart, he doesn't come on board with Fast Track, at least we've got another list that we can use to keep in touch with him. So that's the very first thing that happens. It's really pretty transparent both to you and to the prospect. But then the next thing is we're going to send an email message. Odyssey is going to say, here's the first email in this series. Let's go ahead and send that from you, Peter. You send that to Reggie, and Odyssey will just do that for you. Send the email. Then we're going to wait a while, a couple of days, maybe send another email talking about the benefits of Fast Track. Wait a while, send direct mail. Well, Odyssey's not very good at putting that stamp on the envelope and walking down to the post office. So that's where that alert bell comes into play again. It's going to ring that bell and say, Denise, you need to go ahead and drop this into the mail here. So you go ahead and put that stamp on and get it in the mail stream. Come back to Odyssey, check off that you did it, and then Odyssey keeps going. Wait a few more days, send another email, wait, and send an email, wait. Getting a little more serious, he still hasn't responded, so now we're going to light up that, ring that bell again and say, okay, Kirk, time for you to give Reggie Print Shopper a call, tell him about Fast Track, and we just keep working through this. Wait a while, maybe the prompt to send some direct mail, another email, all the way through this whole automated marketing, sales and marketing process. So pretty excited about that. That's a big deal of what we wanted to accomplish with Odyssey. That one's coming around the corner. So those are the two big things. If I look at the big picture, those are the two big things that we set out to accomplish with Odyssey. First one is how we eliminate double entry. You saw that with the orders coming into Odyssey. And the other one is that marketing component. No MIS has done anything like that, and so we're pretty excited about that. All right, let's kind of wrap this up here. Here's where we're at today. We are getting dangerously close to launching Odyssey. Haven't flipped that switch yet. We just want to make it exactly right before we do. But that's where we're at today, is just about ready to launch this, putting some of the final touches on that, taking off some of the rough edges. And when we do, we're going to actually keep a very limited launch. Actually, we're taking those customers right now, and that's what's on my screen here. But we're very serious about this, that we want to keep the collection of Odyssey people, Odyssey customers, a small community right now. We've done that already with the, to get to this point, we have our early adopters here. They've been huge. It's been a great team. Some of them have been with us from the very beginning. Some others have come on more recently. So if you do choose to move ahead with Odyssey, know that you're not alone. Even though we're keeping that community small, you're going to be able to kind of rest on the shoulders of some of the printers that have gone before you here. And Odyssey really is built by printers and for printers, and these are the people, some of them, that are helping to do that. We have more than are on this page, but you could be part of that collection. So that's where we're at today. We left 15 spots open for new customers. 3 of those spots have been filled, so there's 12 more to fill, and that's it. And where we're at with that too, here's the big advantage. I might have to go back into Odyssey and show you something here, but it just reminded me, because one of the big advantages that we have, that we can provide, is just really an unfair amount of attention to make sure that you are up and running with Odyssey. Matter of fact, even right before we set this up today, our developer was on a web meeting with one of our early adopters, helping him get set up so he's ready to hit the ground running. So that's where we're at with Odyssey. We would love to welcome you to that group. All you need to do is just go ahead and let us know that you are ready to join Odyssey, and we will get that spot open for you. That really is it, kind of the whirlwind part of my tour here. I'm going to stick around a little bit longer, and I'll keep an eye open on those chat messages. And again, the crowd is small enough where we can open up the microphone if you have questions. So as you're thinking of those questions, I'm going to go back and hit a couple of things that I didn't do in the presentation. One of them is, if I go back to the resources, I'm going to go back to that folder and just show you that quick example of kind of that unfair advantage that we're able to offer. So if we look at look at the math that goes into making Odyssey work. I'm not going to get into all the geeky details, but here's an area where our team can help you because of that small customer base that we're starting with, intentionally starting with. So you can go ahead and set up your resources just in the same way we talked about during the demo, and that calculation may work for you. But if you need that tweaked a little bit, that's where our team can kind of rise in to the occasion here and just get in the geeky calculation part that you would never have to see. This is just a super quick example of how we can make this work just for you. So just wanted to give you a little teaser about that. And that is it. That's what we've got for today's presentation. We're doing these webinars every Tuesday and every Thursday. So if there's more that you would like to see, just hop on another webinar or request a personal tour. Be happy to do that as well. And you can do that just by clicking on this link here. Again, thank you for joining us today. And we are thrilled to show Odyssey to you. Now get out there and sell some more printing.